What are random battles? Random battles is where you go as a team head to head with another team of real players, not AI bots. The match is dynamic with players using various ships and strategies, making each game as a unique challenge. So why do we want to do this? If you've been playing co-ops, that's great. But now, it's a bigger challenge. Random battles pit you against unpredictable real players, which test your skills and abilities. This is where you start refining your strategies and learning how to deal with different types of opponents. How does it work? Well, there's a matchmaking system. The matchmaking system will place you with players using ships of similar tiers, so don't worry, you won't be thrown into a game of super high-level players right away. The game works hard to create balanced matches, though it's not perfect. So expect some surprises. And random battles is all about teamwork. Unlike co-op, where you can go off solo, here you need to stick with your team. Don't stress about mistakes. Every time is an opportunity to prepare. Now, we need to talk about choosing your ships. For right now, all we have is cruisers, and later on, we'll get other ships. But when starting out, we recommend sticking with Tier 2 or Tier 3 ships. These are ideal for learning since they're straightforward and forgiving. If you're not sure what ship to pick, here's a breakdown of each. Destroyers. Destroyers are fast, they're sneaky, and great for spotting or launching torpedo attacks. Cruisers, which we'll be playing today, are very versatile ships, well balanced and perfect for beginners. Battleships are heavily armored, have powerful guns, but slower and harder to maneuver. Definitely starting and stopping takes a lot longer, and obviously turning takes a lot longer. So let's talk about these ships just a little bit more. The basic goals of cruisers is to stay mid-range, to support your teammates, and use islands for cover. The tactics for it is to focus on accurate gunfire, support your team by taking down enemy cruisers and destroyers. And that is a key right there for any ship in the beginning. Destroyers, submarines, and then cruisers will be your first priority because they're the ones that are going to destroy you the quickest. So the next one I want to talk about are destroyers. The whole role of destroyers are to flank the enemy, utilize smokescreen, and run torpedoes. The tactics are take advantage of speed and agility, exploit blind spots, and harass enemy ships. The next one would be battleships. And the thing about battleships is you want to stay on the front line or engage in long-term bombardment. It really all depends on which battleship you have. Some battleships have no close defense, and some have great close defense. So it really depends on the amount or the type of ship you're actually playing. The tactics for this, angle your ship to minimize damage. I think we talked about this in the last episode, but you do not want to be broadside to another battleship because they will take you out very, very quickly. And make the most of your heavy armor. That's what it's there for. It's there to protect you. It's also there so you can take damage for your destroyers and your cruisers, aircraft carriers, submarines if at all possible. Now, talking about aircraft carriers and submarines, we won't be covering that today as it takes a long time to unlock, but for now, we'll focus on the three main ships and refine your skills. So, what are the essential combat tactics? Gunnery is your first one, and leading targets, and we'll go more over this when we get into random play, but understanding how your torpedoes travel, how to launch them, which we probably won't get into today because we're not going to be playing with torpedoes, and how to set up attacks around obstacles, mountains, things like that, setting up using cover, making your islands, or using your islands, using other people's smoke screens if at all possible, or your own if you're a destroyer, using torpedoes, how do they travel, avoiding fire, and this is kind of a big one. We want to zigzag, make sharp turns to make it harder for the enemies to hit you. Using your armor, we've talked about this before, angling your armor to the ship effectively reduces incoming damage. Like I said, if you're broadside, you're going to take a lot of damage as opposed to angling correctly and being face forward. So what are some loadout tips? And here's what you want to bring to battle. We have shell types. We're using two different types of shell types right now. There's actually three in the game, but most ships don't only have the two, which is HE or high explosive. It's reliable, especially against lightly armored ships. AP, which is armor piercing, is more effective against heavily armored targets. More loadout tips. Consumables. Don't forget about your damage control party. Once you start getting into higher level ships, and I'm not sure if we have one in level 2, but I'm pretty sure we have one in level 3. It fixes flooding, it fixes fires, and some ships even have repair party to recover health. And when we get later on in the episode, we'll talk about upgrades, considering main armaments modification to protect your guns from being knocked out. So, now that we're here, why don't we actually get into game and start talking about